Many of you have indicated a need for medical referrals related to psychiatric matters. Well, my new sponsor, Zocdoc, is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors who would be right for needs such as bipolar disorder, anxiety, and depression, or many other issues of that nature. Zocdoc has over 100,000 healthcare providers across the United States with all sorts of specialties inside of the mental health system, family medicine, and many other subcategories. So you can use the link that's below this video here, Zocdoc.com/Dr. Carter, and see actual appointment openings and choose a time that works for you. And in doing so, you would be helping support my channel as well. Just know that Zocdoc is a service that I would gladly recommend. As you try to make sense of the whole pattern of narcissism, one of the best ways to understand it is to recognize that narcissism reveals the dark side of an individual's personality. Narcissists, by definition, are defined by living behind the guise of a false self. They make up their own alternate reality to suit whatever their purpose or narrative is in the moment. Now, just to give you an idea of how there's a contrast between their psychological darkness versus psychological light, let's think about a real life kind of situation involving light and darkness. Let's suppose you get up first thing in the morning, and when you do, you turn the lights on, and your eyes they'll blink and all because they're not ready yet for the light. Think of it that way with a narcissist symbolically, except when we say that they're not ready for the light, permanently they're not ready for the light. The actual truth is, when you turn the lights on, your eyes can adjust. Narcissists don't adjust to light. They want to stay in the shadows. They want to stay in such a way where they don't really have to look at the things that are better and pure and reasonable. They're committed to their own negative characteristics. They want to look authentic when in fact they are not. They're counterfeiters. They want to give the appearance of being plausible, and yet you and I know that it's nothing more than window dressing. Now, it's sad when you realize that narcissists want to make you think that you're the one that's in the wrong, but I want to give you a 12-point checklist here today that shows you how the darkness has completely taken over in that individual's life, and your light that you want to shine on them, your truth, your authenticity, is a threat to that. So let's run through these, and as I do, I want you to just think mentally in your mind how many of these points would represent those narcissistic individuals that you might have to encounter sometimes. Now, first and foremost, number one, with respect to how narcissists reveal their own darkness, is the goal of the narcissist is not to be good. The goal of the narcissist is to be better than. Now, I hope you understand that. Goodness is set aside for their search for superiority, their search for the commanding and the control position. Number two, as they show that they're in their own darkness, their need or their desire of the moment overrides fact. So it's like, well, I need you to believe this, or I need you to think this, or I need you to do these things for me. And if we have to take a look at the facts of what's really going on and how manipulative I'm being, let's just ignore that, okay? So the need of the moment is more important than the facts. And of course, whenever you try to expose that, it doesn't turn out very good. Number three, as they live in their darkness, you realize moral certainties come and go based on whatever they need you to know. So in other words, there are times when they can present themselves as being very morally upright or very pure and having decent goals, when in fact, no, they're morally bankrupt, and part of the bankruptcy is trying to pretend to be much more upright than they actually are. Number four, the narcissist who's living in darkness wants justice for me, but then they want condemnation for you. And when they say when I say they want justice, it's like, well, when you do them wrong, it's like, hey, we can't do that. Yeah, that's not appropriate for you to do something that's clearly a violation against me. But then when the shoe's on the other foot and you do something that displeases them, it's like, I'm going to condemn you. You're no good. In other words, they live with strong double standards. And then when you want to hold them to an honest standard, they'll think, well, I am being honest. You're the one who's not. And they're terribly inconsistent with respect to how that plays out. Number 5, you can see that while they're in their darkness, they refuse to consider your ideas or your point of view. It's like even in their darkness, they think to themselves, well, I already know everything I need to know. And so they can't see whatever is valid about you. Notice that I use again that metaphor. They can't see. They're in the darkness. And so when you say something like, let me shed some light, to use that metaphor, it's like, I don't need you to shed light, even though they're over here in the darkness. They won't consider your ideas. Number 6, with respect to them living in the darkness, is when you call them out for their control over you, they're going to dress their behaviors up. For example, they may say something like, well, I was just trying to be helpful, or someone around here needed to be decisive, and that was me. And I'm thinking, no, you're just being controlling. And they try to dress up their overbearing and their harsh and their mean-spirited attitudes towards you by telling themselves, well, I'm really doing this for your good. You just don't see it. Number 7, they will point blank lie about who they are. I've had so many times when people will say something like, well, my life is guided by really strong spiritual principles, or I'm probably one of the best people that you would know. I once had a neighbor that says, I'm going to be the best neighbor you ever had. But then it turns out this person was highly critical and constantly complaining. And what they were saying was, I need to tell you what you're supposed to think about me. So they're just going to lie about who they are. What they are on the outside doesn't match up with what they are on the inside. Number 8, in their darkness, they will have a permanent disregard for you. Now, I hope you hear that one. In their minds, they're thinking, I matter, you don't, because you don't represent what suits my narrative, and so you don't matter, and I'm going to dismiss you every time. Now, on top of that, then they're quite willing to cover up whatever is wrong. It's just instinctive to them. Anything that makes me look good, whether it's accurate or not, I'm willing to do so. So they're in a constant defensive mode. They can be evasive emotionally. They can be evasive physically at times when that would be necessary. Number 10, when they err, when they make mistakes, clearly it's someone else's fault. Because you see, in their lying to themselves, they think, well, I can't possibly be wrong. So if something wrong happens within me, it couldn't have emanated from within me. So you did it. And so even there, they just simply won't take responsibility for the things that go wrong from the inside. Then number 11, they will blatantly ignore obvious facts. For example, if you say, well, the truth is yesterday you told me this and we've got this instead, it's like, no, that's not the way it worked. Which leads to number 12, and that is they make use of lots of revisionist history. When something is part of their past that is not very pretty, they can come along and say, well, actually, I did A, B, and C, when in fact, no, you didn't. Or when they try to recall something that you did that they didn't like, they'll say, oh, it was far worse than what you're trying to depict. And it's like, no, it's pretty innocent. They remember things in such a way that reinforces their false narrative. So when you refuse to go along with their enlightened ways, it's going to become ugly very quickly. Narcissists are so committed to the dark side of their personality that when you come along and say, I'm crying foul, this is not right, this is not good, you're going to start seeing anger, and it's going to be ugly, and it's going to be quick, and it's going to be strong. Basically, when you refuse to enter into their dark side with them, you will be punished. And it's like, well, wait a minute. I've got the bad guy calling the good guy the outlaw. This doesn't make sense. And they're going to make your life miserable. And they're going to make sure that you understand that your relating style is what's wrong. Your priorities, your perceptions are inaccurate. And then when, like I say, when you protest, it can be foul, it can be ugly, it can be harsh. I know that many of you have been on the receiving end of harsh anger and abuse, or shunning, or contempt, those kind of things. And sometimes it can just feel like it's endless. So the question that you have is, well, where does this leave me? Well, let's keep in mind, you will never be that person's equal, ever, in their mind. And I want you to think, good, I don't want to be equal to that individual. They don't see it, but in their own backwards way, when they say, you don't match with me, I'm thinking, thank you for noticing. and take it as a backwards kind of compliments. Your distinctions are going to be deemed as troublesome, but keep in mind your label as being troublesome is little more than projection of their chaos onto you. They're the ones who are in trouble. Keep in mind they're guided by their own darkness, so of course you're going to be a bother. And again, let's take that as a backwards compliment. And then also keep in mind they're going to try to keep you in an ongoing defensive posture. They want you to have to defend who you are. And I'm thinking, why do I need to defend that which needs no defense? And so I'm hoping you can decide, I don't need to defend myself with someone that just makes no sense. When you shed light into their darkness, of course they're going to wince. They don't like that. But I'm hoping you can also realize that since they're so consumed by their own darkness, that your decency and your goodness is going to be something that is anathema to them on a permanent basis. Know that you're being gaslit. They're trying to keep you in a state of confusion, but hold on to your distinctions. And be glad for your light bulb moments when you say, hey, wait a minute, I see through this. And then as you can, connect with individuals who know what true light is. And that's defined by dignity, respect, and civility. That's what we stand for here on Team Healthy. Know that these are individuals who are covered up by their own pathology. You don't need to enter into that space whatsoever. And of course, it's going to come with dishonesty. Factor that in. Now, I hope this kind of video is something that can give you some good awareness of what you're dealing with. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do so, and we'll keep more videos coming towards you. You know that I have been sponsored by by various individuals or groups. One of my new sponsors right now is Zocdoc. And and the reason we chose him to be a sponsor is we've had multiple requests from you for referrals for medical help. If you have a problem with anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, things of that nature, they're an online resource for medical attention. And so you go through the link that we have below. I'm really glad that we have them as a sponsor because it rounds out what we're trying to do to help you. So as that need is there, go beneath the video and make use of the services that they would have for you. It's a very simple process. I'm very impressed with how they manage themselves. Now, in addition, I also have my courses. You know that are on my website, and each course has at least 25 teaching videos along, and each video has handouts and guided questions. We have anger games, This Is Me, Free to Be, Ready, Set, Connect. We have links below the video. We also have them on my website. Now, also on my website is access to the webinars that I produced. They're 90-minute presentations, and those have also proved to be quite popular, along with access to my articles, my podcast, my books, and plenty of resources. Okay, narcissists are in the dark, and they've become so accustomed to their own darkness. When you come along and say, I want to shed some light on what they have going on here, they pull back because they can't stand that. And like I say, take that in its own weird backwards way as a compliment to you. Okay, you don't think like them. Good. And in doing so, I'm hoping you can stay more and more committed to what you know is wisest and best. And in doing so, they're going to remain in their a life of turmoil. I'm hoping you can have more of a life of steadiness. And in the end, you can become that person of peace. They won't have it, but I'm hoping that can be yours to claim.